Hi there, my name's Robin. I just wanted to share something with you quickly. Walt Disney's strategy for creativity. I've been putting together some materials for a workshop I'm doing in about a week's time, and this is one of the things that we'll be covering at that workshop. So Walt Disney was an amazing character. If you think about it, I mean, Mickey Mouse has to be one of the most recognized characters in the world. And these films, these amazing experiences that he created have now become, there's a Disneyland in Florida and in Paris. I don't know where else they have them. But people pay money to go and wander around this imaginary world that he created first, somewhere up here. So I heard a story about when he was actually raising the money for Snow White. I think Snow White was the first full-length feature animation film, and no one had ever done anything like that before. And what Walt Disney did was he hired a theatre, and he got all the potential backers in there, and he got up on the stage and basically he performed Snow White. He started to tell them what it would look like, and the thing is that he knew what he wanted, and he'd imagined it in such great detail that he could step into each of those characters in the movie. He knew how all the scenes would be visualized, but he knew the gestures and the tone of voice, and he had this really intimate knowledge that meant that he could just act it out there in front of them. I imagine with a powerful character like that, who's so able to, kind of create this internal world, working with other people. I mean, like a film, an animation, that's a very complicated thing. It involves a lot of people, a lot of time, and you're bound to get clashes of ego going on. One of Walt Disney's colleagues said about him, he was a dreamer, a realist, and a spoiler, and you never knew quite which one was going to walk into the room. Well, Walt Disney had a very specific strategy for creating his masterpieces, and if you think about it, it's very simple. He just had 3 phases, and if you think about what you do, whether it's painting a picture or making a poem or a play, or taking an invention out there, or even just developing a new product or service, you'll probably find that you go through these phases as well. First, there's that dreaming phase, that phase where you just imagine what it is that you want. Because the thing is, even if you don't really think that you have a clear picture, you have to know what it is that you want out there, because otherwise you wouldn't recognize it when you finally see it, right? So, in this creating phase, you're just letting your imagination run riot. In the second phase, the realizing phase, that's where you really dive in and you get your hands dirty. Whether that's rehearsing the play, actually putting the paper on the canvas, or doing the first drafts, or sitting, in a room talking through those ideas, seeing how they'll work together. And thirdly, you've got the evaluating phase, where you actually stand back from what it is you're doing and take another look. Is this serving its purpose? Is this going in the direction we want it to go? This is the time when you're kind of looking at what you've done from the point of view of your intended audience. So what I found is that, we all go through these different phases during our creative process. And, you might go through the phase in 5 minutes, or you might go through the phase in a week. It's something that works on all of these levels. And one of the places that people really get stuck is when they confuse these different stages. Because there are different attitudes, different states of mind that you want to be in while you're in each of these distinct phases. When you're creating, when you're imagining, the last thing that you need is that critical voice saying, oh, this is not going to work, or, this is trite, or, At the same time, you don't want the practical voice saying, oh, I don't know how we're going to do that, or, that's going to be really expensive. You need to be able to think outside the boundaries of what you already know is possible, and make mistakes and take risks. in that second phase, the realizing phase, you still don't want the critical voice, because you've made your decision and you've committed to taking some kind of action. At the same time, you don't want those flights of fantasies. You don't need any more ideas, because you need to get this done, this thing that's in front of you. And finally, in that evaluating phase, a phase, by the way, that people sometimes just never get to, it's kind of where you have to really let go of that idealism that you started with. You have to fall out of love with your own genius and take that step back and see what someone else will see, and really appreciate that. You know, what else is needed? How could this be better? Now, there comes a point where you look at that and you think, I'm done now, right? And if you're not done, you go back into the creating phase and the realizing phase, and you keep going around until you decide you've finished. Just have a think about that, and let me know if you find it useful. Good day for now.